These pilots are being trained to use the heads-up guidance system. The system's computer translates data from the aircraft's sensors into easy-to-read symbols. Speed, altitude, and flight path are projected onto a holographic display mounted in the pilot's direct field of view.
You're down, landing checklist.
The pilot looks through the display, not at it. The numbers and symbols are focused at infinity, so pilots can keep a lookout for the runway. For airlines that operate in bad weather, systems like this keep them flying. Without them, they would be grounded with long delays and financial loss. Even with the runway barely visible just 50 feet above ground, the pilot can make a safe landing. Fog guidance systems had not been invented when tragedy struck at Tenerife Airport in the Canary Islands in 1977. At 5 p.m. on March 27th, a KLM 747 taking off in thick fog collided with a Pan Am 747 taxiing along the same runway. All 244 passengers and crew on board the KLM flight were killed instantly. Of the 386 passengers and crew on the Pan Am jet, only 48 survived. Fog had caused the worst crash in aviation history. Hidden inside thunderstorm clouds are winds so powerful they can rip the wings off a plane or simply smash it to the ground. These violent updrafts and downdrafts are called microbursts. The strongest downdrafts, called downbursts, are the most dangerous. Air rushing down smashes to the ground and spreads outwards as a high-speed turbulent wind. A sudden change of wind direction from a downburst can cause a plane taking off or landing to suddenly lose airspeed. If it fails to regain enough airspeed, the plane will stall and plummet to the ground. In 1985, Delta Airlines Flight 191 was approaching Dallas-Fort Worth. As it descended out of a thunderstorm, it was hit by a microburst seconds before reaching the safety of the runway. The massive 60-mile-per-hour downdraft slowed the aircraft's speed from 170 to 110 knots and slammed it downwards. It skimmed a road, hitting 2 cars before crashing into a water tower and exploding. "36 people were killed. Miraculously, 30 escaped, some completely unhurt. The winter months bring a whole new set of weather problems for aviators. Pilots and airport authorities are faced with the dangers of snow, freezing temperatures, and ice. Ice is the single biggest weather killer in modern aviation. If ice coats an aircraft, it weighs the plane down and changes the aerodynamic performance of the wings. The plane can simply drop from the sky. So pilots have to look out for ice building up on their aircraft. Temperature decreases 7 degrees for every 1,000 feet altitude gained.
Positive rain. Yep.
At normal cruising altitudes, the temperature can be as low as -50 to -70 degrees. The most dangerous form of icing occurs when a plane flies through supercooled water droplets. These are drops of cloud or rain which are still liquid even though the surrounding temperature is well below freezing. If these drops hit the plane, they freeze instantly, giving a hard, transparent coating of glazed ice. There are no instruments which can detect ice, and even the best forecasts can miss clouds that might deposit it.
Looks like we're picking up a little ice on the leading edges there.
Okay.
Some light ice.
The only prevention in flight is to heat the leading edge of the wings.
Good inflation.
On the ground, it's vital to spray aircraft with de-icing fluid before taking off again. The fluid, a form of antifreeze, melts any ice that has accumulated on the aircraft. This simple operation can save a plane from disaster. Ice on runways can pose another serious threat. On January 23, 1982, a DC-10 carrying 190 passengers skidded off the end of an ice-coated runway at Logan International Airport into the freezing cold waters of Boston Harbor. By an amazing stroke of luck, nobody was killed and there were only minor injuries. Ten days earlier, an Air Florida jet leaving Washington, D.C. National Airport, coated with a heavy load of snow and ice, stalled on takeoff. Unable to climb fast enough, its tail section hit the 14th Street Bridge across the Potomac River, killing 3 people in their cars. The stricken plane tumbled into the icy waters. The 737 broke into 3 sections. The nose and main fuselage plunged straight under the surface, killing everyone inside. The tail stayed afloat for a short time, and a few survivors were thrown out into the river. Millions of Americans watched the rescue attempt on live television. The water was so cold, the survivors became numb and began to freeze. Unable to watch the helpless woman any longer, an onlooker plunged into the icy water. The woman was almost unconscious, but he managed to drag her to safety. The helicopter pilot risked the lives of himself and his crewmen. He settled his craft almost on the water, while the crewmen clambered out onto the landing skids to reach another survivor. Of the 83 on board, just 5 survived. Bad weather has caused some of the worst disasters in aviation history. But these tragedies are, fortunately, extremely rare. Accurate forecasting and technological advances help us cope with all kinds of weather. In fact, aviation is now the safest form of travel.